The film opens with a poignant narration delivered by a young girl reciting a poem, envisioning an idyllic world adorned with beautiful trees and fields. This starkly contrasts with the visual reality, a desolate wintry night in the Wyoming wilderness near the Wind River Indian Reservation. Here, a Native American girl is seen weeping and sprinting through the snow, barefoot. The scene transitions to the subsequent day, introducing us to a reserved individual named Corey Lambert, a proficient hunter from an external region. He is depicted shooting a wolf while clad in a white camouflage ensemble. Employed by the Fish and Wildlife Department, Corey specializes in hunting perilous animals. He pays a visit to his ex-wife in Lander to collect his son Casey. Although his ex-wife, a Native American, appears to have an amicable relationship with him, they both exhibit a strong sense of protectiveness toward their son. Corey brings Casey to stay with his maternal grandparents on the reservation while his mother is away. During this visit, Casey's grandfather informs Corey about a local predator that recently attacked one of his cattle. Through a meticulous examination of the tracks, Corey discerns that the perpetrator is a mother lion and her two cubs, showcasing his adept tracking skills. In the quest for the lions, Corey traces a path of footprints and blood in the snow, ultimately discovering a deceased girl with a head injury and frostbitten feet, the same girl featured at the movie's outset. Promptly reporting his findings to the reservation tribal police, Corey and Ben, the police chief overseeing the reservation with just 6 officers, await the arrival of the FBI. Amidst a snowstorm, FBI agent Jane Banner reaches the scene ill-equipped for the harsh conditions. In need of warmer clothing, Casey's grandmother lends her garments that once belonged to her late granddaughter, revealing Corey's own loss of a daughter of similar age to the deceased girl. Utilizing snowmobiles, they navigate to the location where the girl's body was discovered. Corey identifies the deceased as 18-year-old Natalie Hansen. During the examination of Natalie's body, Jane observes signs indicating a potential sexual assault. Inquiring with Corey about places Natalie might have been escaping from, he mentions a nearby crack house and a drilling site. Analyzing Natalie's footprints, Corey deduces from their depth that she was fleeing in fear. He explains that the extreme cold, approximately -20 degrees, likely led to her lungs freezing, causing her to cough up blood. Yet she persisted in running until she could no longer. Impressed by Corey's analytical prowess, Jane seeks his assistance in the ongoing investigation. Back in Lander, they consult the medical examiner, who corroborates Corey's observations and adds that Natalie suffered sexual assault by an unspecified number of assailants. Despite Jane's determination to crack the case, the death isn't officially classified as a homicide, restricting her capacity to involve the FBI further. Jane, accompanied by Ben and Corey, pays a visit to Natalie's parents, Martin and Annie. They uncover that Natalie had a boyfriend, whose identity even her father was unaware of. Jane becomes frustrated with Martin's seemingly negligent attitude toward his daughter, eliciting anger from the grieving father. The meeting with Natalie's mother is equally poignant, as she is immersed in profound sorrow, inflicting harm upon herself in her grief. As a close friend of Martin, Corey attempts to empathize by sharing his own painful experience of losing a daughter, helping Martin confront his grief by embracing the pain. With Corey now actively participating in the investigation, Martin, lighting a cigarette, expresses a desire for retribution, aligning with Corey's apparent motives. Corey, Jane, and Ben proceed to the nearest residence to the crime scene, which belongs to Sam Littlefeather, a drug addict whose home serves as a haven for other addicts. Upon reaching Sam's residence, he employs a substance that overwhelms Jane and Ben, causing uncontrollable coughing. Simultaneously, Corey engages with 2 fleeing addicts, using a shovel to incapacitate them. Despite struggling with her vision due to the effects of the substance, Jane pursues Sam around the house. In a sudden confrontation, Sam fires at Jane but misses, and Jane retaliates by shooting and killing him. They make a startling discovery that one of the men in the house is Natalie's addicted brother, Chip Henson, who breaks down upon learning of his sister's death. His cryptic remarks lead Jane to suspect that Natalie's boyfriend was a white man from outside the area. Corey observes snowmobile tracks leading up a hill from the house. Considering Natalie's body was found beyond this hill, he and Jane decide to trace the tracks. On the hill, they encounter another body, a naked man partially devoured by birds. Returning to the crack house, the remaining men initially resist cooperation, expressing a preference for jail over remaining on the reservation. However, the men at the crack house become more cooperative after Corey engages in a conversation with Chip, a person he has known since childhood. Chip attributes his and his sister's plight to the challenging environment, a perspective Corey disagrees with, emphasizing that unlike many locals, he had the opportunity to leave for a better life. When Chip accuses Corey of failing to protect his own daughter, the exchange turns physical, culminating in Corey beating Chip. Eventually, Chip discloses the identity of Natalie's boyfriend, Matt, a security guard at a drilling site, who is roughly Corey's age. When Corey shares this revelation with Ben and is invited to join them at the drill site the next day, he declines, alluding to having other plans. Jane pays a visit to Corey, informing him that the deceased man they found is Matt Rayburn, the security guard at a drilling site, and as Chip disclosed earlier, Natalie's boyfriend. Jane is curious about Corey's motivations for assisting her, and after seeing photos of his daughter, she begins to grasp the emotional connection. Corey then shares the tragic story of his daughter Emily, who met a fate similar to Natalie's 3 years earlier at the age of 16. Emily's disappearance occurred during a night when Corey and his wife were alone in a hotel, and it was Natalie who reported her missing. Corey concludes his narrative with the heart-wrenching detail that Emily's body was later discovered, mutilated by wolves. This tragic event, Corey confesses, has haunted him for years, leading to his emotional breakdown and ultimately contributing to the dissolution of his marriage, as the relationship couldn't withstand the trauma. The death of his daughter also served as a catalyst for Corey to become a hunter, possibly driven by a desire to confront the wild animals that attacked her or to seek justice for her assailants. Jane, overwhelmed by the harsh realities of the area, retreats to the bathroom. There she stumbles upon one of Emily's poems, revealing her talent as a writer. It becomes evident that the voiceover at the film's beginning was Emily reading her own poem. The following day, while Corey continues his investigation into Matt's murder on the hill, Jane and Ben, accompanied by 4 deputies, sled to the oil drilling camp. At the oil drilling camp, they encounter the head of security, who claims ignorance about Matt's whereabouts and mentions his disappearance after an argument with his girlfriend. Jane notices bruises on the faces of the security personnel, who attribute their injuries to sledding. Despite their explanation, Jane remains suspicious. As Jane and her team approach Matt's trailer, she employs a deception tactic on the security guards, falsely asserting that Natalie is still alive and has reported her boyfriend missing. The lead security guard reacts with surprise, stating it's impossible since he heard about finding her body on the radio. Jane's suspicion deepens when she points out that the radio never disclosed the identity of the body. Simultaneously, one of the deputies notices the guards strategically positioning themselves, leading to a tense standoff as everyone draws their weapons. Jane, leveraging her higher rank in the FBI, manages to de-escalate the situation, restoring calm among the officers. As Jane knocks on the trailer's door, the film transitions to a flashback of Natalie's last night. In the flashback, we witness Natalie and Matt sharing an intimate moment in bed, discussing their future plans together. Their private time is abruptly disrupted when Matt's intoxicated co-workers, led by Pete, arrive at the trailer. Pete, heavily inebriated, begins teasing the couple and invading their privacy, leading to a heated confrontation with Matt. The situation escalates when one of the men directs a racial insult towards Natalie, prompting her to slap him. Amidst the chaos, Pete forcibly removes Natalie's pants, sparking a violent fight that results in both Natalie and Matt suffering severe head blows, causing them to lose consciousness. Natalie awakens to the horrifying realization of being assaulted by Pete, while Matt, regaining consciousness, attacks Pete in a fit of rage. The scene unfolds with everyone turning against Matt, and Natalie, understanding she can't save her boyfriend, flees in desperation. This marks the beginning of her frantic run, a futile attempt to save herself that tragically culminates in her death. In the present scene, Jane remains at the trailer door, loudly identifying herself as FBI. Meanwhile, high in the mountains, Corey discovers snowmobile trails linking the drilling site to where Matt's body was found. This evidence strongly suggests that the guards transported Matt's body after killing him, attempting to mislead the investigation by creating false tracks leading towards Sam's house. Corey hastily tries to warn Ben about the guards' deception. Just as Jane is about to react further, a thunderous blast echoes through the door, and she is struck in the chest by buckshot. Fortunately, her bulletproof vest prevents serious injury. The gunshot initiates a fierce shootout between the security guards and the tribal police officers. Despite their valiant efforts, the tribal officers are overpowered and succumb to the guards. Jane, injured but still alive, is disarmed by the lead security guard as she attempts to reload her gun. Just as he prepares to shoot her, Corey, concealed in the snow, unexpectedly fires and kills the guard. Corey systematically eliminates the other guards as they search for him, even firing into the trailer and hitting another guard. However, Pete manages to escape through a window and flees toward the mountains. After providing first aid to Jane, Corey pursues Pete into the hills. Hearing the sound of a snowmobile, Pete panics and looks around, only to be knocked unconscious by Corey using his rifle. When Pete regains consciousness, he finds himself barefoot on a mountain, already displaying signs of frostbite. Corey confronts him, demanding a confession for his crimes against Matt and Natalie. After Pete confesses, Corey gives him a chance to run, casting doubt on Pete's ability to cover even a fraction of the distance Natalie managed in similar harsh conditions. Pete begins to run, but the extreme cold quickly takes its toll, mirroring Natalie's tragic fate. He collapses, wheezing, succumbing to the same harsh elements that claimed Natalie's life. In the subsequent scene, Corey visits Jane in the hospital. Jane expresses a sense of fortune at having survived the ordeal, but Corey challenges this perspective. He believes that on the reservation, survival isn't merely about luck. It's about possessing the spirit and strength to endure, or succumbing if you lack them. Jane is visibly moved, contemplating Natalie's desperate 6-mile attempt to escape in freezing conditions, and she breaks down in tears. Corey then goes to see Martin, Natalie's father, finding him with a desolate expression that suggests he may have been contemplating suicide. In an effort to offer solace, Corey recounts how each person responsible for Natalie's death met their end, emphasizing the fate of the man who assaulted Natalie. Touched by Corey's account, Martin emotionally asks him to stay and share in his grief, seeking comfort in the presence of his friend during this devastating time. The end. So, what do you think of this movie? Did you enjoy the recap? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. One like and subscribe is highly appreciated. Share this video to your friends and family too. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next videos.